Hey everybody, it's Jeremy, and welcome to another episode of Sipping with Jeremy. And today I've picked out 3 different whiskeys I'd like to talk to you about. So these whiskeys don't really have anything in common besides the fact that they are carried at our store and that I really dig them. I just wanted to share some more information with y'all so you can learn about them yourself. So today we're going to be talking about Charbet Distillery Double and Twisted, Drift Distillery Single Barrel Wheated Whiskey, and then Willett Distillery's Old Bardstown Straight Bourbon. So yeah, let's start talking about the Old Bardstown Straight Bourbon. The Willett Distillery was originally founded by Thompson Willett in 1936 on his family's farm in Bardstown, Kentucky. It is now owned by the Colesvine family, who bought it in 1984. The Old Bardstown Bourbon was originally released in the 1940s and was brought back into production in 2016. Now let's try it out and see what it's like. So this has a very classic bourbon kind of feel to it. There's a lot of those softer kind of toffee flavors. You get a little bit of cocoa, softer bit of oak spice. But there's a very classic bourbon profile here that you don't get too often anymore, and it's peanuts. So this has a very peanutty kind of shell, peanut kind of flavor to it. And you hear it with a lot of the old school bourbons that had a little bit of that nuttiness to it. This has that profile. So, I mean, it is, again, the original Old Bardstown was from 1940s. It probably definitely had that kind of profile to it. So when they brought it back from the Willett Distillery, it seems like they wanted to keep that profile there. And you're definitely getting it on this bourbon. So, yeah, just a really easy drinking one. Again, that baking spice works really well with that nuttiness to keep it lighter on the finish. This is definitely one that's great for cocktails. And yeah, just a really nice, easy, straightforward style bourbon. So now let's move on to the Drift Distillery Wheated Whiskey. Now, Drift Distillery is located in San Clemente, California. But brother and sister Ryan and Leslie Winter have a family farm right outside of Bison, Kansas, which has been in the family since 1876, where they get their hard red winter wheat, where they make their wheated whiskey from. So they get their wheat from their family farm in Kansas, bring it out to California, make a whiskey, age it for 2 years, and then bottle it. And then again, this is a single barrel wheated whiskey. So if you really like a certain batch, make sure you go out and get what you can, because single barrels, once they're gone, each barrel is going to have somewhat of the same profile since they're using the same mash bill. But since it is, different time of year, different temperatures, what have you for these different barrels, each barrel is somewhat individual. So if there is a barrel you really, really like from Drift, try to get as much of that one as you can. What we're drinking today is batch 19, bottle 290. This comes from barrel 48. And again, 2 years age. Let's give it a try. So in my opinion, wheated whiskeys typically are a lot softer, so they pick up a lot more flavor from the oak. And you're getting a lot in this. I mean, again, this is a 2-year whiskey. You're getting a lot of woodsy kind of savory flavors on this. I'm getting a lot of baking spice, a lot of toasted oak there. Getting a little bit of a tobacco leaf kind of savoriness to it as well. There is a lot of that kind of like toasted toffee flavor here. I'm getting a little bit of vanilla bean, but a lot of the woodsiness, a very like woodsy flavor profile. And as I mentioned before, since these are single barrels, these are going to be different. I've definitely had Drift before where it's a lot softer, where it's got a lot more of this caramel, like toasted vanilla, not as much as the vanilla bean, but less oak too. So yeah, this batch number 19 from barrel number 48, just a little woodsier than some of the other ones I've had in the past. But again, that's the fun part for me, at least in a single barrel project, is each one's going to be a little different. All right, so now that we've tried the Drift Distillery wheated whiskey, let's move on to the Charbet Double and Twisted. Charbet Distillery is located in Ukiah, California. Marco Karakesevic is a 13th generation distiller / winemaker in his family, and he launched Double and Twisted in 2009. It is a blend of 3 different whiskeys: a 4-year malted whiskey, a 4-year Pilsner whiskey, and an 8-year stout whiskey, which were all made in their custom alembic pot still. Now let's give the Double and Twisted a try and see what it's like. I gotta say, out of the 3 whiskeys we've had today, this is the most expressive. And that's not too surprising when you think about, you're blending 3 different, very type of different whiskeys together to make this. First thing you get on this is tons of cocoa. It really softly coats the palate. and you get a lot of like rich dark chocolate, softer kind of malted chocolate, but a combination of cocoa flavors on this. You do get some really nice toasted vanilla in there. There's that creme brulee kind of like burnt custardy aspect to it as well. There is some woodsiness to it. You get some baking spices that get you a little bit of that tobacco leaf savoriness from the oak. But then again, just tons of chocolate too. The chocolate comes in and out. You get that dark chocolate, that malted chocolate. It goes away to give you that kind of like toasted vanilla, creme brulee kind of flavors. You get a little bit of that toasted oak baking spice, and then way more chocolate on the finish too. That nice little tobacco kind of savoriness there, though, helps kind of balance everything out. It kind of just stays linear on the palate. So while all these rich flavors like washing in and off of the taste bud, a nice little bit of tobacco leaf herbaceousness really balances everything out nicely. So really fun. There's a little bit more of an ashy kind of finish to it, like more of that tobacco leaf smoked part. So that's really interesting on the finish. That a little bit more of that single malt kind of characteristic comes out in the finish. As well as that chocolate coming back too. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap up this episode of Sipping with Jeremy. Hope you learned a little bit of something about the whiskeys we tried today. And below we will have the link to our website as well as the link to these 3 whiskeys. And I will also put in a link for the blog post I did for the Drift Wheated Whiskey when it was our Spirit of the Month. Thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoyed yourself. Drink well.